whose is going to have it out better here as we hit the rift in this elimination match for game 1 between Deep Cross Gaming and Frank Esports. I like that the DCG comp has not just like self-peel, but like self-denial, right? Like anytime you have a Kalista, you can always just nope your support out of there. But Nesty's also basically just said, don't target me. You won't be able to kill me. I can ult myself.
Yeah.
He's taking himself out of the game, basically.
He's going to be a major factor in this game, number 1, because he's on Lissandra. Not known to be the strongest laner, but when we look at
Nesty or Lissandra?
Yeah, Nesty.
Clarify.
But the big thing is it allows you so much impact on these side lanes, and combine that with a Vi, there is tons of gank potential once you see the level 6s tick over for both Hana and Nesty.
You know, I actually don't think Nesty has played a competitive Lissandra before. I'm not surprised he has it in his repertoire, but I am surprised we haven't seen it earlier on, given that it was just kind of the answer to a lot of these, like, mobile, somewhat assassin-y champions when Ahri and LeBlanc were, if not interchangeable, used for kind of the same purpose some metas ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am skimming through, and yeah, I do not see the Lissandra locked up for him. So, yeah, this is his first competitive Lissandra game. So, we'll see how he does. And for Pretender, you know, this is one of his comfort champions as well, right? He's performed exceptionally well on this Ahri pick in the past. The only issue is, again, the amount of crowd control coming in from DCG. Is he able to navigate around it? Thankfully, he is running Unsealed Spellbook, so for some of these fights, he will have the cleanse available to play around.
He's starting off by getting some good vision down as well. Doesn't want to run afoul of Hana early on, who has limited abilities to get involved when only the Vault Breaker's there. But still, we've seen these Vi's get a little craftier, a little heavier on it. Hana has been really heavily prioritizing this champion throughout the playoffs thus far. As we scroll through our lanes to see how things go down, Leaky giving himself a good spot in this matchup early, just because of the virtue of him being on this Renekton. Even with the Counter-Strike, he's fine. He can tank through it. He slices, dices, gets the stun off, and YSKM already taken low.
Mm-hmm.
Even without jungle intervention, I do think this is an opportunity for Leaky to try and smash a lane. We get back to that spring split form we were hoping to see from him.
Yeah, and this is sort of par for the course, though, in that top side, right? You know the Renekton is going to be still lane dominant, and it's just a matter of what he's able to generate off of those leads. And with how much kill pressure is on these side lanes, again, wherever Nesty and Hana go should result in kills. And so that will be the moment to watch. And for Frank Esports, it's about Hollow trying to get some knowledge on where Hana is going to be, like, perhaps slow that down. This is all in.
Speaking of speed, I think we're speeding up down in the bottom lane, and Carries and M&M having themselves a little bit of a hard time peeling Criscata and Woody away, who are getting very aggressive in the 2v2. I really do like this duo. Kalista, we've seen it fall flat a handful of times, but paired up with a champion that just goes in like a Leona, you can see why they weren't as worried about giving the Nautilus away. M&M and Carrie is going to be forced to play on the defense for a little while.
And one of the issues in the Beyond Gaming series was that they weren't able to effectively play around not Woody, but Criscata, and put him in a position where he could carry. Yes, there was a game he got really fed onto Desiree. Unfortunately, Desiree extremely vulnerable as well, right? Extremely squishy. So if he makes a mistake, he will blow up. It's a lot harder to blow up a Kalista because she's kind of deep in it, and she's also going to be sort of life-stealing a lot of it as well. She's as bruiser of a bot lane champion as you can get without actually drafting the bruiser. So that might alleviate some of those pressure and maybe nerves that we did see in the Beyond Gaming series.
I do want to draw attention early on to the items, and not in terms of ones that were bought, but the fact that Criscata is still holding on to the Black Spear. And that tells me there is a chance,
I don't think so.
that I would love to see him bind with Hana. That's all I'm saying.
It would.
Can you imagine? Just throw the Vi out into the cease and desist. What range?
Would be interesting.
Also, you can have the Hana go in and then get yoinked back. I'm just saying.
Definitely would be interesting.
He hasn't used it.
However, at the same time, a lot of times when we do see the Black Spear still being held on, it's because you want to get out onto the map very quickly at level 1 to set up pre-vision lines or go for that early invade. And when you use the Black Spear, sometimes it delays you from getting out of base fast enough. So I think that was probably more so the reason is, yeah, they go ahead and use the Black Spear in base.
My conspiracy theories will one day be correct. That's all I'm saying. One day.
I mean, eventually people will catch on that maybe throwing the Black Spear on someone else is going to be more helpful. But, you know, that day's not today.
Sad. That's okay. We'll check back in with everything else going on. YSCam has actually done a decent job of keeping up in the farm game. He has been falling a little bit behind, but with the wave going his way, he should be able to pick this one up, although Leaky, even though he takes some damage, has the Dominus available to him compared to the Grandmaster's Might, so a little bit of skirmishing could be happening as Woody and Hana making his way up. The dive incoming.
Hollow is
around, but
not close enough.
There's a level disadvantage here. This dive is coming in hot right now. Even with the flash leak, he does take a shot. Gets that. Slice dice. Counter-strike. He goes back in. Still gets first blooded. And a good juggle of the aggro at the end for DCG.
And it was DCG faster on the play. And this was finally one of those proactive plays that we were looking for the entire time in the Beyond Gaming series. It's just a matter of can they continue to transition that. YSKM taking a death there is incredibly detrimental to him, and they aren't really able to get anything on the flip side. They weren't in a position to go for the dragon because Hollow was set up to try and help out his top laner. Unfortunately, stuck on the red buff while the dive was happening, and that puts YSCam in an incredibly poor position. Even though he will eventually outscale in this matchup, it's not going to happen for a little while.
Yeah, he also didn't have 6. He just hits it about a moment ago. Hana will match him eventually, but he at the time was still level 4 doing his red buff. So just unfortunate timing for Frank Esports. They get the first blood, unfortunately taken from them. YSKM going down. We'll have to play back a little bit without that flash. Teleport's still not available, but we'll have it up off cooldown a lot sooner. However, I think for the Jacks, you want to just make sure you are getting as much gold as possible, get to your win condition faster. Hana starts his red buff off in Vision. This is going to give Frank some info. Let's see what they do with it.
Yeah, mid and bot priority are obtained by the side of Frank Esports. They would love to try and go for this early dragon, but they'll go ahead and peel off of it, actually. Carries back going for a recall, which indicates to me that they want to perhaps set up around the Rift Herald, but he is pathing straight back bottom, which is interesting because he was full health, he was full resources, but he goes back to get the Merc Treads.
Yeah, a little bit of cold feet, I suppose, and second guessing Leaky on this freeze. Just making sure YSKM can't farm safely. Force him to step up or be starved. And now we see the return, Hana and Nesty to the Herald. Just like clockwork, Hollow and Carries are here around the Dragon Pit, but with Woody and Cryscata on the opposite side, it's not an easy take for them. Carries going to run face first into 2. I don't think he was expecting that as he burns Flash to get away.
That was incredibly baffling. Now YSKM should die again.
Dive round 2, YSKM. He does get the Counter-Strike on, but he's got no sums. He's got nothing left in the tank now, and it should be an easy cleanup as Nesty claims the kill on the return. Hollow starts off this Dragon in exchange, but Deep Cross just have their sights set on the Jacks, and it is working out.
And a lot of concerning things showing from Frank in this game number 1. YSKM dying twice at tower. Side of Frank Esports don't seem to be prepared well enough to know what is about to happen, and they've kind of left their jungler out to dry. In the previous series against Impunity, they were still trading out on the opposite side of the map. This time around, yes, they get a dragon for the second one, but you've just given way too much up in that top half, and it will come down to YSKM doing some really big heroics to try and pull this lane back into his hands. And then there's also just like carries. He goes back to buy tier 2 boots. Not sure that's worth it when you could have just gotten the dragon earlier. Then you allow Hollow to reset, go back top, protect your top lane. So it was all around very confusing, because that's also what happened in their previous series against Impunity, where they had such strange buy timings. They greeted for gold, and they also reset at extremely bizarre moments.
Yeah, I think Frank Esports are sometimes a little bit confounding in the decision-making in a macro sense, right? Like, I think we've seen this team get a lot better in their ability to go all in together on fights, to just make sure that they're coordinated in the execution of their game plans. But those little decisions on when and how and where they go has been a bit of a head-scratcher, to quote Clement. And I think Deep Cross are taking full advantage of it right now. As it stands, 11 minutes into the game, they're facing down at 2,000 gold deficit. Here comes Carries, though, right into the waiting arms of Hana. Ceases and desists. The damage is on. They take him out, but the numbers advantage. Frank have managed to turn on this, and they take Hana down on the opposite side. The charm does land. Woody goes golden for just a moment, buys some time as Nesty comes back in. They turn once more their attention. Cryscata's coming through. Pretender falls down, throws Woody in, although I think he rather would have gone back the other way. And that'll be the end of it. A 2-for-1 trade extended in favor of Deep Cross Gaming.
Once more, Frank Esports are just all out of sorts. They go for the engaged. This was not the engaged that you want to see from Carries. He just dives and yeets himself into the fight. And DCG are also a little bit faster on the rotation. Getting some help from their AD carry to also even up the numbers. But yeah,
I didn't know they were both there.
The fact that Carries die so quickly in this moment, yeah, it means that even though they have their AD carry here first, the Kalista ultimate is just going to have a little bit more value once he makes a rotation at this point, and that's exactly what happens. Pretender goes down, and they force yet another flash coming in from Woody. So a lot of flashes being taken off the board does leave Frank Esports pretty exploitable, and what do you know? They're repeating this dive, and there's not much of a turret left either.
Yeah, it's not even really a dive anymore. YSKM flashes away after leaping, and that is a very early turret take. 13 minutes on the board as Deep Cross get first brick, as well as all the plates up there. Leaky off to a flying start with a little help from Hana. Item buys coming in across the board, too, as YSKM was so far down. He doesn't have his mythic yet, but that Blade of the Rune King came in on the last back from Leaky. With the level advantage, is shoving yet another minion wave. 40, almost 50 CS ahead of YSKM, who has just been beat down and camped. And that is the strategy that teams have found success on against this rookie sensation in the top lane, is just camp him.
Hollow is around and keep Pretender propped up. But Frank Esports just look absolutely lost. Carries has had very terrible moments in just 14 minutes of this game. Like, this game hasn't been going on for long. And I just don't know where the preparation has come from for the side of Frank Esports. Their communications is just not happening, and yeah, at this rate, DCG will repeat what happened last split playoffs, where they just 3-0'd Frank Esports out of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, that did happen last spring, and as you said, it was a very different Frank, but unfortunately right now, it's even more different than what we were expecting, and it's just not been looking that great in the first 14 minutes of play. Maybe they pick it back up, maybe they get back into this because they do have a late-game Jax and Aphelios to rely on, but the way Deep Cross are playing, they know their composition is designed for one thing, and that is to win it out in the mid-game. Well, here they are with a solid gold lead. They've only given up a dragon and 1 kill this game. Speaking of dragons, there'll be an Infernal spawning, and wouldn't you know it, Hana's right there in position to start it off.
It's
happening in darkness as well.
But I don't know if they really want to contest this one. As Hollow, yep, he's probably dead. The follow-up's there.
He was sniffing for it. So much CC. You talked about the lockdown, and it's just so much Hollow never really got a chance to move, and now they'll go right back onto the Drake, even though the information's gleaned by Frank. They don't have a smite to contest this.
They're still
They would have to fight it out 3v3 into a Callista, and they're not going to do it.
It's just more bizarre things happening, Pyra. Frank Esports, Hollow goes in. Where's the bot lane? They reset so late. And yes, you have that Gale Force coming in, but you have to match when you check that dragon with when your bot lane is around, right? Because they have so much CC, and DCG understands that they can see champion, kill champion right now. And Frank Esports, they don't understand. There's like 10 billion tools of CC on the other side, and yet they keep just wandering it. Like Carries, he's just wandering it. Yes, this is a moment he might not get punished, but if there are other members there, he for sure dies.
I actually think that was a little conservative of Nesty, because he had a 5-level advantage. Mid lane's to sports, y'all. That being said, I think Frank Esports had, like, they're just playing sluggish. It's like they're not fully awake yet, and that is a problem. This is an elimination match. You got to get it together. You are out of playoffs if you lose this one.
Yeah, there's not much room for error here. As they pull 4 people down into this bottom lane, it leaves YSCam yet again on his own. And with Rift Herald secured by DCG, they're just gonna, I feel like they're just gonna slam this door shut before 20 minutes ticks, because already it's a 5k gold lead and there's no signs of life at all from Frank Esports. Seems to me they saw this round and were like, yeah, we outscale eventually, so we just don't need to do anything. And it's like, well,
gotta get there first.
Yeah, you've literally gifted them everything on the side of DCG. You've given them picks, you've given them jungle pressure, the map pressure.
It doesn't get caught here, though.
This is a fight. Okay.
Flash burn. He's going to be able to get out, knocked up nonetheless by carries. Doesn't matter. They go all in looking for a desperate pick and still get denied. Charm doesn't land.
And yet, it's another of these picks that carries he goes for. I don't think he really needed to in that instance. He burns the flash. And yes, he had the Hex Flash, but Hex Flash is much better in lane phase.
Oh, and they find Pretender. He dashes twice this time. Does get away, but can't stop the Shelly charge, and can't manage to find any return damage nonetheless. Deep Cross Gaming, they don't even have to fully commit when they go in like this. YSKM finally has some time to free farm, but I mean, he's minutes late. Several of them, in fact. The gold lead just keeps on growing here for Deep Cross as they take out that mid tower and get another big chunk on the tier 2.
Yeah, so lead is pretty rough. However, for the side of Frank Esports, it is a Hex Dragon for the soul. So rotations and their ability to defend will help out because of the Rift. It also does mean, though, that for DCG, they're able to get the soul, it will be the killing blow. Thankfully,
I don't know if it's going to go that long.
Yeah. Thankfully, though, you know, it is sort of a late Dragon Soul at this rate. So if Frank Esports want to give up this next one, they do offer themselves a little bit of time to scale anyways.
That's true. They need to buy time, though, and I think they really need to be helping YSCam. Like, the biggest difference this game is just that so much attention was paid there by Deep Cross and none at all by Frank. Like, I was saying in the stats comparison, you looked at that gold difference at 14, one of the reasons it's so far behind in the playoffs was because teams have focused YSCam so much. Well, you know, maybe we weren't the ones doing him dirty. Maybe it's his own team. They're putting him on an island. What is this, TSM?
Yeah. It's definitely incredibly rough here for Frank Esports coming out in this game number 1. And in the Impunity series, yes, they were taking losses up top lane, but they were still finding windows bot lane.
No windows. There we go. Another one onto carry. Getting a little low. Doesn't quite take him down just yet. Here we go. Nahana, though. Is going to get fired down. There's the turn from Frank Esports.
Okay.
Nesty gets popped.
Now the chase is on.
Shut down for Eminem, and now YSChem gets that stun off onto Woody. They've used the tools on the opposite side. Pretender de-aggroes himself with the stopwatch. They pull in Leaky yet again. Dominus is on, and Frank, it looks like they have woken up. They've come alive. Will they be able to get more off this? The answer looks to be no, but they do get 2 kills after surviving the initial onslaught, and the Dragon is about to be alive.
And that was probably one of the moments of drawback, right? Where they find all the CC, but unfortunately they didn't have the damage there. They didn't have the Renekton, and they didn't have the Kalista to fully capitalize and finish off that kill. We'll most likely see the replay again. But then Frank, because they're able to survive that burst of cooldowns, it does open a lot of other things open to them. Oh, actually, yeah, so they do have Cascada there, but a beautiful pillar means that he can't do any damage. So the result still remains the fact that, yes, Cascada's there, but he didn't actually participate in finishing off that kill. And this is why Trundle is so damn good into Kalista. The moment you throw down the pillar, look, she really struggles to auto attack and just navigate around that piece of terrain.
Yeah, that allowed Frank to get back into this one in terms of the team fight, but they didn't capitalize on it. You saw they win the fight, they choose to back, and as a result, they give up this Dragon. They could have had that one on the timing window, and they don't take it. Hollow now running into Leaky. YSChem's here too, so Leaky, still fancying his chances at taking the fight and chasing him off turret, is able to do it. Despite the victory in the fight, Deep Cross are still gaining ground in this game, and they will now be working on this inner tower down bottom without anyone to stop them. That's going to be number 4, taken by Deep Cross. Gold lead continuing to extend here.
Yep.
About 6,500 Night Star, 22 minutes.
6,500 gold for the side of DCG. That's their current advantage. They do need to continue push that advantage, and it's going to come off the back of them really out-rotating. YSChem does have Frozen Heart completed now, and that might help them a little bit, but it doesn't look like it's helping.
Maybe not enough. YSChem, yep, this time it's not a 1v1, it's never a 1v1. There's always friends from Deep Cross Gaming. Holo and carries were trying to come there as well, but they didn't quite get in time. Hana charmed up, tanking a lot of damage. The Moonlight Vigil does come through. It's not enough to get any kills.
Big chunk.
Deep Cross, they have to respect the choke point. They back away. Oh, hey, they're going to Baron. Oh, this is sneaky.
They are turning straight over to the Baron. They will get scouted out, so they do know. But how can they walk into here? Because remember, there's so much CC. But Eminem, if he's put in a position to succeed, he could just turn their fortunes here.
But they're going for it right now to get the lockdown, taking Eminem out of the fight, and Holo is going to be next on the table. Now carries Pretender. The chase down was there. They're burning the flashes right back to Baron. Deep Cross Gaming are so decisive in what they want to do. You could see the goal was baiting the fight.
Oh, they're still sticking around. There's a few pieces of honey through. And Jack is looking, but they do end up pulling off. So this will be DCG securing themselves first Baron of the series. And it all, this game looks all but done for the side of DCG.
It just feels like Frank Esports have just not wanted to commit to anything right now, and they've just been indecisive, slow to respond. They've gotten a few chances to come back in, and it looked like this was going to be another one, but they don't go for the chase down on Nesty. Then they split focus, and all of a sudden, you got to remember 4 members of Deep Cross are right behind you, and they lose immediately.
Yeah, and carries on this Nautilus. I mean, PCS Nautilus has been incredibly dominant this playoffs. This has not been one of those cases. His decision-making has been really, really poor. His rotations have been really slow as well. So,
especially compared to Woody. I think you can see the difference on display in these two supports.
It's just been really baffling to watch. I mean, also the kills difference.
Yeah, 3-0-3. Hey, look, if you're Leona, you go in and you commit. You get the kill with your knight, you earn it. You earn it.
It is
Cascada has not had to get kills. He's not had to get kills this game.
Exactly. That might actually end up coming back to bite them, because this could be a full 3-item Kalista, right? If you have those 3 kills onto her instead. So that It's definitely an interesting note because if you look, it is item parity. Eminem has his completed 2 items, so it's not. It doesn't feel like the game is too far out for Eminem to find that magical fight. It's just really everyone around him needs to be able to hold their own.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think they're just so far behind at this point. The late game win condition, the Jax, has been set so far back. Leaky's still able to absorb a ton of pressure on his own, and Frank Esports, they need the perfect angle, but now the death ball is rolling, and they're just going to let the supers, or rather the Baron-empowered minions, do their work and not full commit, not get into the choke point. Another dragon is going to spawn in a minute, so the reset should come through, or at least a wave push from Deep Cross Gaming here, as they would be well on their way to Soul Point after this.
Soul would definitely be the final dagger. Looks like
Woody?
head splash around. Woody's caught on his
he
own.
might be dead. He is going to be able to get a stun off
Flash
there. He goes,
coming in
burns
from
the
his
flash,
team.
but the depth charge comes through. The
ST.
charm goes wide, and that's a couple of cooldowns burned already. They're going to go back into this one. I don't know if Woody really should have, as he
They're
gets
so
shut
split.
down by Karis.
Cascada, Leaky, they're
Is
not
on his
here.
own here now. He's going to go golden for just a second. Frescata jumps forward in aggressive posture, even in the numbers disadvantage. They think they might have the chance for double kill. Comes through as
Frescata.
Harris all of a sudden is lighting him up, but that's going to be a big rend, as well as Nesty blowing up a few members. Even with the disadvantage in numbers, they have the strength, as it's a long con. YSKM flashing and hopping. Frescata on the chase to follow through here, looking for even more as he uses the chickens to try and leap strike his way to victory. Doesn't find anything, but it's a 2 for 2 in the fight overall. It could be more as Eminem gets stopped up for a second and is forced to use his cleanse. What a weird series of events.
Oh, I mean, it still ends up being an even trade, right? 2 for 2. So for Frank Esports, it's actually beneficial in that regard. They will give up control around this dragon, though. But at the very least, it's a little bit more gold coming into you. Unfortunately, it's Carries getting those kills. He is now 2-2-2. So he's evened out the kills
He
and
collected
that.
shutdown gold.
You know?
This
so,
was Woody just getting pillar sandwiched, and then I
this
think the
was
thing
the
that kind of
recalls.
baffled me was just the recommit.
This was the recalls coming through by their top and bot, right? This, a lot of where their damage is
Woody's
coming
like, Woody's out, and then he's like, I'm back in though.
from. Yeah, and then the collapse comes in, and he's like, maybe I shouldn't have gone back in. But
Yeah.
once Cascada and Leaky do get back here, that's when you kind of see where, you know, there is a lot of money on these two champions, even though Cascada hasn't gotten that many kills. And the positioning for Eminem in that fight, unfortunately, he couldn't walk up to do damage because Nesty was occupying the choke point.
Yeah, that. If you were to just like not look at the items, not look at how this game has gone, tendencies of both these teams, just look at that fight and just be like, okay, let's freeze frame at the moment that Frank get those 2 kills. You're like, all right, team's gonna probably roll through the fight or maybe clean things up. Immediately, Deep Cross have just full committed in what is technically a 3v5, and they just blow up 2 members of Frank immediately. That shows you how far ahead they are. You can see the gold difference. It's 10,500, almost 11k gold. Now scratch that, it is 11k gold and a half ahead. The math is there at the top of the screen, and they've got Soul Point. Deep Cross have just gotten so far ahead this game.
More importantly, they have such a large EXP lead on the side lanes. Pretender and YSKM are only at the start of level 15, so they've got a long ways. And on the flip side, Nesty level 17 and Leaky also level 17. It's Hollow, he's just dead.
Yeah, cease and desist. Nesty goes forward. They will look to blow him up as he flashes back into the team. Hollow staying alive. That's clutch. The Subjugate kept him in this for a long time. However, as he's zoned out, he's going to have to heal up on Fountain. Deep Cross immediately turned for Baron, which spawns in 3 seconds. And they should be strong enough to commit to it.
YSKM, no teleport. Pretender does. So now everyone is just rotating over. They do scout it out and know, hey, they are starting to get out for the hook. This is great.
I think he's going to get caught. He does have the Dominus on. Immediately the Veil turn on to the rest of the members of Frank, who back away. YSKM hops. All right, that's going to stop the Baron. They're a little bit too battered for that one. A nice play by Frank. They don't present a target. Still peel him off. Still competitive. with a massive gold deficit.
Killer goes in and does force Woody back. But the thing is, for DCG, look at how much match pressure that they do have, right? So they still have full ownership of the map. They can still go back to this Baron, but they don't even need to finish this Baron off, right? Because they can just kind of waste time and wait for the Hex Dragon to come up in 2 minutes, and that is the key objective they really want to take. It's why Spam, he's pincered in.
Yeah, he is. Doesn't even get a chance to do much here as he tries for the counter-strike, but Hana just slaps him down to the ground at a seismic toss, and Hollow is going to drop as well, even though he tanked through it for ages. Woody finally falls, but you take that trade if you're Frank Esports, excuse me, if you're Deep Cross. Eminem getting gold in his pocket, but he would much rather have a jungler in a top lane with a numbers difference. Yeah. Deep Cross going to go right back to Baron Nashor.
And you'd love to have a front line. If they had a front line here, it might make their job a little bit easier, but they still are looking here. It almost feels like they have to try and flip.
Oh, it'd be dangerous. Moonlight Vigil does come in. It doesn't do nearly enough. And Baron's going to go down without too much of a fight. The charm goes through, but Hana is able to lock up 3 members here. Although I don't know if they want to commit to the fight. Deep Cross are like, wait, what are you doing? And they're going to walk away from that.
Well, okay. Well, at the very least, Frank Esports find the kill and take 1 Baron away.
Finds a Guardian Angel after that.
And it looks like they should be able to
we were going in.
secure this tower. No, it actually won't be tower secured. But you can start seeing some of the power coming in from Eminem, right? 2-1 and 5, still doing very well for himself, even though he didn't have a great lane phase, I want to say. But now that he has IE, like, we're starting to see these item completions that do allow Frank Esports, even though they are 13k gold behind, you can see the angle where they might pull off a fight.
Yeah, they are scaling up, right? This is what we talked about, as a potential comeback into this one as they catch Leaky, but Carries goes down almost immediately. YSKM thought he could frontline into this one, and now they're split up from the Solar Flare. Hollow taken low as he turns, tries to take a bite out of the rest. Deep Cross gaming, but the health bars are just too low here as Deep Cross flexing on the Frank Esports members. Pretender barely gets away with his life. And now Deep Cross, 5 members strong, going to march down the mid lane with the Baron buff on. I think this is going to be curtains for game 1.
I mean, I've never seen a Nautilus this poor in a while. This was one of the most abysmal carries performance on this Nautilus that's happened. This seems to be more of spring split carry